Good evening. On KiniNews today, Abdul Khalid's lawyers has voiced outrage after authorities classified the investigations against Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim as no further action. Meanwhile, PKR's youth chief has slammed Sabah students for torching Anwar's caricature. Will MCA split from the government? Will they remain in BN? Stay tuned for all this and more. Unacceptable, outrageous, and contrary to good governance and the rule of law. This was the response from legal representatives for former Finance Minister Daim Zainuddin's widow, Abdul Khalid, to the decision over her police report against Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim and MACC Chief Azam Baki. The report was related to a Bloomberg article about the MACC investigation into Daim. In a statement today, Naimahs lawyers Rajesh Nagarajan and Sachpreetraj Singh Sohanpal said they were informed of the no further action decision by the police and the Attorney General's chambers through a letter from the Sentul District Police Chief on June 21st. They said for 9 months the police and the AGC kept quiet over Naimah's police report, and NFA decision comes just days after Naimah lodged a complaint with the IPCC on the long failure to take action on her report. The lawyers added that no details have been given of who was questioned, what steps were taken, or what were the reasons for the NFA. They questioned if Anwar and Azam were questioned and whether the investigation was fair, thorough, and impartial. They added that despite the serious public interest implications of these allegations, the police and AGC have chosen to quietly close the case with no explanation and no accountability. They said the decision reflects badly upon the police and AGC and claimed that it confirms the erosion of institutional independence under the Madani administration. Is burning a caricature a valid form of protest or just a publicity stunt? PKR Youth Chief Kamil Munim has chastised student protesters in Sabah. This is after they burned an image of Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. In a statement yesterday, Kamil called the effigy burning excessive, rude, and pointless. He said it endangered themselves and the public, failed to educate the public about what they wanted to get across, and most importantly, was a sign of failure in an exchange of points. He argued that their points were not delivered effectively, and it was just hollow acts that appeared brave to steal public attention. Kamil added that while they did grab attention, it's time for them to step up with real debates. He said they should show themselves and make smart arguments. Meanwhile, Kamil told Malaysia Kini that he rejected this kind of approach and would object to the burning of anyone's image regardless of whose image was being set on fire. Student activist group Suara Mahasiswa UMS ended their Gempo Rasuah Sabah 2.0 rally in Kota Kinabalu yesterday with a fiery message by burning a caricature of Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. The rally organizers described the burning as the culmination of the protest's message, a stinging rebuke of the Madani administration. A tug of war is brewing inside MCA over the party's strategy for the next general election and whether it should cut ties with the Madani government. Former MCA Vice President T. Lian Kerr claims most MCA divisions agree that the party should leave the government but stay in BN. Speaking after the Kuantan MCA division AGM yesterday, T argued MCA shouldn't be weighed down by the Madani coalition's promises, especially since the party holds no cabinet posts. T also insists MCA's political bureau had already made a decision back in May to leave the government and wants the leadership to act. The main issue at hand for MCA is its future participation in elections and representation in parliament. UMNO is keen for BN to maintain a partnership with Harapan in the next general election. However, this arrangement doesn't favor MCA, which only has 2 parliamentary seats. The seats it used to hold in the past are mostly now held by DAP. T pointed out that under the current formula, all seats won by DAP will be defended by them and questioned what is left for MCA. However, MCA Secretary General Chong Sin Woon, who officiated the same event yesterday, denied that the political bureau made such a suggestion. Chong said while the bureau did have an in-depth discussion on MCA's future, it neither decided to quit the Madani government nor BN. According to him, party divisions are being given room to make their stances known for the leadership to consider. Is Slayang PKR Youth about to collapse after a mass committee resignation? PKR Youth in Slayang is in crisis mode. After last month's divisional election, most of its committee has walked out, leaving the division's future in limbo. Deputy Chief Amir Sahmat, Vice Chief Lee Fuk On, and 12 committee members quit, citing alleged election irregularities. Amir confirmed the resignations were due to alleged irregularities in the election, which saw Tamil Arasu Tamil Kalai elected as Slayang Youth Chief, defeating Dinesh Selvaraju. He told Malaysia Kini they made the decision collectively and made the decision with full responsibility. The resignations were formalized through letters and statutory declarations expressing no confidence in Tamil Arasu's leadership. Initially, Amir said all 17 members resigned, but 3 later withdrew after appeals from central leaders. The resignation letters addressed to Youth Secretary Omar Mokhtar and PKR Secretary General Fuzia Saleh were submitted in batches throughout May and June. The debate over Najib Abdul Razak's recent discharge not amounting to acquittal or DNAA is heating up, with UMNO's Puat Zarkashi joining in to share his views on the matter. In a statement, Puat said that there were 2 opposing views on the issue. He said those opposing Najib's DNAA are actually anti-UMNO and anti-Najib. He suggested they fear an acquittal could fuel UMNO BN's political comeback, but also highlighted their double standards, pointing out their silence when charges against DAP's Lim Guan Eng were dropped during Tommy Thomas's tenure as Attorney General, but also zeroed in on the Attorney General's chamber's explanation that it had no other choice but to await the conclusion of Najib's 1MDB and first SRC International trials before proceeding with the second SRC International case due to overlapping documents. He asked if this meant that the charges against Najib overlap and if he was slapped with multiple charges in SRC 1.0 and SRC 2.0 just to ensure he is prosecuted. He questioned if the 27 million ringgit in the SRC 2.0 case is part of the 42 million ringgit in SRC 1.0. Why weren't the charges combined from the start? Boyd added that there is another camp criticizing the AGC's conduct from a legal and procedural standpoint, particularly the delay in prosecuting Najib. He said they were asking why 6 years and why press charges if you weren't ready. He added that this was why there are lawyers raising concerns of selective delay, which they said violates Article 5(1) of the Federal Constitution, the right to a fair and expeditious trial. If you like the stories we produce, consider supporting us by subscribing to Malaysia Kini. Click the link in the description below or scan the QR code on your screen to subscribe. Still on Najib, on Friday we posted to ask what the public thought about the issue. This came following the decision by the Kuala Lumpur High Court to grant Najib a discharge not amounting to an acquittal over 3 money laundering charges involving 27 million ringgit from SRC International. During the proceedings, Judge K. Munyadi had said Najib's case was pending since 2019 without a single witness called. Instead, it was marked with postponements, which clearly indicates that the prosecution is not prepared to proceed. The majority of the voters at 71% thought that the prosecution was weak and said there is a chance the case could go quiet. Meanwhile, 26% believe that the court has made the best decision based on the situation. Several voters called for the AGC to be transparent over the case. Several claimed the prosecution lacked evidence, while others brought up the issue with the legal system, saying that it was a 2-tiered system, one for the common people and one for politicians. What are your thoughts on this? Share your views in the comment section below. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has reportedly called for China to stop Iran from closing the Strait of Hormuz. This came after Iranian lawmakers backed the closing of the strait, which is a key shipping route for crude oil in the world. However, the final decision lies with Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who has the last say in all strategic matters. In an interview with Fox News on Sunday, Rubio had encouraged the Chinese government in Beijing to call them about that, because they heavily depend on the Straits of Hormuz for their oil. He added that it would be economic suicide for Iran, and other countries should look at that as well, as it will hurt their economies a lot worse than the United States. According to the BBC, nearly 20% of the world's oil supply flows through the Strait of Hormuz, a vital transit route for Middle Eastern energy exporters. Any disruption in the strait could trigger a sharp spike in global oil prices. Iran's parliament supported a move to close the Strait of Hormuz following U.S. airstrikes on key Iranian nuclear sites, marking a major escalation in the ongoing conflict between Israel and Iran. Before we go, let's take a look at some of the other headlines from today. That is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTv.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'm Camelia. Thanks for watching.